The first time Gideon Hart saw them, the sun was lowering itself behind the clapboard roofs of Cedar Hollow, bleeding gold and bruised purple into the sky. The dust in the street was restless, stirred by boots, wagon wheels, and the occasional restless hoof. From the far end of the main road came the sound of voices, cheering, jeering, the kind of hollow noise men make when they believe no one is watching their souls. Gideon slowed, his long shadow falling across the warped planks beneath his boots, and drifted toward the crowd that had gathered outside the auction pen. There they were, two young women, bare feet on the rough boards of a makeshift platform, shoulders squared against the hungry eyes surrounding them. The taller one, with hair as dark as midnight water, stood like a carved statue, her chin lifted, gaze fixed somewhere above the crowd, as if to remind herself she was not here. The other, shorter but no less proud, kept her eyes on the dirt, fingers curled into fists that trembled only when she thought no one could see. The man beside them, thin, sharp, and grinning like a fox, was Silas Crane. Gideon knew him by reputation. A man who would sell the wind if he thought someone would buy it, a man who had once walked away from a burning cabin while its owners screamed inside. "Fine stock here," Silas called, pacing before his prizes. "Healthy, strong, worth every cent." His words landed like flies on the women's skin. The taller one did not flinch. The shorter's jaw tightened, but she held still. Gideon's hands curled slowly into fists inside his glove. The bids began, voices rough and eager. Gideon didn't like the sound of them, didn't like the way the men looked at the women as if they were already theirs. He pushed through the ring of bodies, his height and breadth enough to part them without a word. Silas noticed him then, his grin faltering just a fraction. "I'll take them both," Gideon said. His voice was quiet, but it carried, the way thunder does before a storm. Silas's smile returned, thinner now, meaner. "Both? That'll cost you, Hart. They ain't cheap." "Name it." The number Silas gave was high enough to draw laughter from the crowd. Gideon didn't blink. He reached into his coat, counted the bills, and dropped them into Silas's waiting hand. The murmurs turned to whispers, the whispers to a few sharp spits of disapproval. But no one challenged him. Silas leaned close, the smell of stale whiskey on his breath. "You can't save 'em all, cowboy." His grin had teeth this time. Gideon didn't answer. He turned to the women instead, shrugging off his coat. The taller one hesitated when he offered it, her dark eyes searching his face for the trick. Then, slowly, she took it, wrapping it around her shoulders with a quiet dignity. The shorter woman followed suit, though her hands shook slightly as she accepted his other coat from the saddle. Neither spoke. Neither thanked him. He didn't expect them to. They left town without looking back. The road stretched long and quiet, the only sounds the measured rhythm of hooves and the sigh of wind over sagebrush. Gideon rode slightly ahead, letting the space speak for them. He could feel the weight of their silence, not an absence of words, but a shield. Once, when a hawk circled above, he pointed toward it. "Cheyennes say hawks guard the lost," he said without turning. He didn't know if they believed him, but it felt like something worth offering to the air between them. They made camp before the moon rose. The women sat close to the fire, though not to each other. The taller one, he'd learned her name was Ziani, ate slowly, each bite measured. The other, Lomaya, kept her eyes on the darkness beyond the light's edge. Gideon added more wood to the flames, though the night was not so cold. It was the smallest thing he could give them that would not feel like taking something away. In the deep hours, a coyote called from somewhere unseen. Lomaya's shoulders tensed. Gideon didn't speak, didn't touch her, but he shifted so that his presence was between her and the dark. By dawn they were crossing the shallow ford of the dry creek. Ziani's horse stumbled on a submerged rock. Before she could fall, Gideon was there, lifting her with one arm as if she weighed nothing, carrying her through the biting water. She said nothing, but her eyes stayed on him longer than before. At a trading post 2 days later, the air changed. Whispers followed them, eyes narrowed, mouths curled in judgment. A man spat near Zioni's feet. Gideon's hand found the butt of his revolver, but he stopped himself. Instead, he stepped forward, took her hand, and led her through the street, head high. It was a gesture that burned as much as it soothed. He knew it, and so did she. That night she told him, her voice low but steady, "You shame me when you think I cannot stand alone." He listened. Let her words cut deep. "If you wish to walk ahead of me," he said, "I'll follow." The storm found them on the edge of the high country, black clouds swelling like bruises over the mountains. Rain came hard, flattening the grass, making the earth a slick and treacherous thing. The wind tore down their small shelter in a single angry gust. When a tree cracked and fell toward the camp, Gideon grabbed Lomaya and pulled her clear, pain searing through his shoulder. They found a shallow alcove of rock and built a fire there. The smoke curled around them in soft ribbons. Zioni crushed herbs she carried in a leather pouch, pressing them gently to Gideon's injured shoulder. Lomaya, silent for so long, laughed softly when he winced, not mockery, but something warmer, almost surprised. For a moment, the three of them sat together as though the storm had sealed them in a world of their own making. By the time the rain passed, the sky felt lighter. They reached the valley where Zioni and Lomaya's people once lived, but rumors carried on the wind. Silas's men were near, saying the women belonged to him still. Gideon knew the law would turn its head. Protection had to be forged, not found. That night by the wild river, the air heavy with the scent of pine and wet earth, he spoke the words that had been building in his chest since the day he'd seen them. "If you'll have it, I'll marry you both. It's not for ownership. It's to give you shelter no man can take." The silence after was long. Zioni's gaze was sharp, measuring him as if to see the truth beneath the skin. Lomaya's hands twisted in her lap. Finally, Zioni stepped forward, placing her palm against his. "We will walk beside you," she said. "Not behind." He bowed his head. "Beside me, then." Lomaya's fingers joined theirs, and for the first time, her smile was unguarded. It felt like dawn breaking on a long, cold night. They rode out at first light, three figures against the rolling hills, their shadows stretching far ahead. The wind tugged at their clothes, their hair, carrying with it the scent of a future not yet written. And somewhere far beyond the fading light of Cedar Hollow, shadows stirred quietly, as if the land itself whispered that this tale was only just beginning. In a world often harsh and unforgiving, true courage is found not in loud battles, but in the quiet strength to protect, to heal, and to love. Gideon, Zioni, and Lomaya remind us that even when the past is filled with shadows, the heart can carve out light, a home built on dignity and grace. May their journey inspire you to hold on to hope, to cherish compassion, and to believe that every soul deserves a place where they are safe and loved.